I've been working on swapping a rotary engine into this Datsun, and today we're doing some engine mounts for it. In previous episodes, we've been trying to get this mounted into the car. Now, last episode itself, we actually made a gearbox cross member, which you can just see down there underneath the gearbox tunnel that we also made. Still need to finish that up. And now we've done the gearbox end, we need to do the engine end. Now, these are the main engine points on the front of the engine. They are not central to the crank pulley. The pulley is offset to the engine mount, so we've got to keep that into consideration. We need to try and incorporate these RX-7 engine mounts in here somewhere. It's going to be difficult. And we've got to be mindful of where the radiator wants to sit and where the water necks want to sit. So it's going to be a tight fit. There's going to be a lot of measuring involved, a lot of cutting, a lot of grinding, a lot of testing. So to start off with, what you really want to do is get your engine level, which, as you see here, is basically dead center and flat. So now I just need to use some of the old imagination and figure out what on earth we're going to be doing in there. So we have a pair of RX-7 engine mounts, right? So these are going to come in handy. We have some steel tube, we need to incorporate that into the build. We have an old RX-7 front engine mount, which, as you can see there, I've started measuring and cutting already. We've got a big slab of 5mm steel. We have a drill. We have a grinder. And we have a welder. So with these tools and parts and materials, I think we should be able to do something. Oh, one more thing. Some cards and a Sharpie. Scissors, rulers, tape measures, the old brain piece. Although it's not really there, I do have some of it. So I'm gonna do a little bit of brainstorming, a bit of cutting of some template, and I'll show you what I can sort of come up with. Right, you can see here the issue that we're having. So, top brad hose, I mean, it's pretty close. We can, obviously alter that at a later date. This one here, this whole housing would have to be modified, probably to go down and then go underneath, and then lob off this and this and make it straight. And then basically this bar wants to sit around here. Now, obviously, this radiator is quite far out as well. However, we have room to cut this piece around here and then bring the radiator in through the grill. There's a lot of space behind it. So if we modify that, then we can bring it in. Otherwise, it's just not gonna work. So this needs to be modified, this needs to be modified. This needs to come higher, right? And then this engine mount needs to sit around here, both sides. So it's not as easy as you think, because the engine's got to sit on this mount, and this mount has got to sit on the chassis, both sides. But you also need to get to the stud underneath, so you have to go outwards, so hovering above the chassis, and then you have to incorporate all of this into all of this. It's tricky, some would say, but we'll see what happens. And then that flat plate is mounted to the block. So we're basically going to be welding a tab that comes off here, probably straight across, hole saw, so the tube can sit on it. It's going to basically be like a straight shock tab, round it off, and then probably box the top and try and integrate some dimple dies in there. And then that will be our bar mounted to the block, and we'll have to make some ears on here to bolt onto the engine mount. So from here, I do want to do these bits down here. So let's get some templates made and start cutting. got that cut out of metal, and then I instantly have changed my mind of what I wanted to do. So I can still use this, but I'm gonna cut this whole edge off here. And I'm gonna basically follow the line of the chassis rail here. And then I'm gonna cut this down, and then the engine mount is gonna sit there. So yeah, the engine mount is gonna sit there. And then I'm gonna make a little bracket that goes on the end of this, sort of like a U shape with a plate, and then this is gonna sit on top of it. I think that'd be better than doing all these sort of different angles around here. I think if we drill a hole in this plate, drill a hole in the chassis rail, just enough to hold a nut, we can literally weld this plate onto the chassis rail, put this on, spin it in until it's tight by hand. And once it's tight, that's it, that's home. You don't need to literally hang off these. Just thread it in until it's tight by hand, just like you would do an oil filter. Same situation here, really. Tight, put it on top, done. So I'm gonna draw on this a little bit more. I'm gonna mark it from the underneath and scribe it all the way along, cut it out, drill some holes. Yeah. Right. Metal plate is trimmed down. That's what we're gonna do. Just weld it all the way along that edge, all the way down that seam, down there, and then on this edge of the chassis rail as well. As you can see, I got the bar in the middle here with some mock-up mounts to imitate the engine mounts before I drill them. I want to determine where this bar wants to sit. Now, obviously want to get behind the pulley with a fan belt, so that's fine. And I also need to be able to get the bolts out underneath the mounts. So yeah, the bar is at a set height. I mean, that's where the engine mounts are gonna sit. I now need to make some templates that sort of like hug the steel bar and then go down into the engine mount here. So that's gonna go straight up like a diagonally shaped piece of metal. I need to figure out where to cut the bar, so trim the bar down to the same width as the chassis rails, and then I'll figure out a bracket piece to sit onto the mounts. So yeah, I'm gonna start with this bit. I'm literally figuring this out as I go along. I ain't ever made an engine mount in my life. So this is the first day, so cool. Perfect. I knew I bought this hole saw for a reason. This needs to do something like that. This is literally a couple of measurements, basic measurements, a bit of eyeballing, and a Sharpie, and some hole saws to drill around. If I get this right first time, I'm a genius, absolute genius. And that goes a little bit like that. So, as you can see, gonna weld in that little crevice on each corner. And then that should go all the way through. Special right angles there. And then we need to figure out where it's gonna sit all the way across in our big bar here. But we'll tack it all together and we'll have a little measure up. I like it. So, mounted up. Engine is as good as level. We've got the bar measured up there. Nice and straight. I've just measured it from here to the radiator support. Same again on that side. I thought it was in ever so slightly pissed, but it was an illusion. So that's good. Can now measure, you know, the width of the chassis rail from there. to there, lob it off. I think I might tack it in place now so it can't move from where it is. So every time we bolt it on, it's going to be in the same place. And then I can sort of like start finish welding it. I'm going to put a dimple die in here, I think, just to cover it off. You can still get to the whole bracket underneath. So you cover off the top and it will look pretty cool from the top side. So yeah, it's going well. Nice. I'm going to weld it down here, obviously weld all the way around the inside. I might not weld the outside because I think it'll just look nicer if I don't weld the outside. And to be honest, it only needs welding on the inside. So I'm going to weld the inside of this, and then on the outside, I think it'll look quite neat. We'll see. Let's see if I change my mind. I did weld the outside in the end. I thought, confident in the welds, it'll look okay. I wish I had a TIG welder so I could TIG this together, because I think it'll look a lot nicer, but the MIG will have to do. They're not the ugliest welds in the world, I guess. What I am going to do, which I did mention earlier, for aesthetic reasons, I'm going to cover this plate. I'm going to wrap it all the way around. I'm going to put a couple of dimple dies just in this piece here, because I think it'll look really cool. So I'm going to give that a go. There you go. I think that looks pretty cool, don't you think? I really like that. It was really nice to do. So when it's in the car and you're looking down, it's going to look like that. So obviously it wraps around just enough so you can still get the bolts out. So when you're looking at it from above, you can just see the dimples. It just makes it look that little bit nicer. I mean, it's taken me an extra like 2 hours to do. But yeah. Cool. Now I need to figure out this end, and I'm just still not sure where I actually want to put the engine mount. I think it would look quite nice there if I can make a good bracket to come off the engine mount, but I'm just not sure of where and how I want to figure it out. So again, this is more brainstorming on the go. Make one piece and then just figure out the rest while we're doing it. Right, committed to, you know, moving the engine mount closer to the front of the car. So that's in there. That hole was drilled all the way into the chassis rail. Going to mock this into there. Alright, so that's going to sit there. What we're going to do is create a little, basically, teardrop shape. And that is going to basically follow up to there. We've got a 40mm gap here. And we've got a 41.5mm gap here. Here's what it is. That's due to me cutting that ever so slightly short. So what I'm going to do is file the top of this off a little bit. So we've got an equal distance side to side. Don't worry, I can incorporate that into my system. Don't worry, it's fine. Yeah, I'm gonna make a little teardrop shape that basically goes up to here. And same again as we made for these little brackets. I'm gonna do on here, but just at a different angle, basically. Yeah, just winging it. A little tab there to, you know, make a proper template. What I'm actually going to do is just use those tabs and repurpose them because I've still cut them out. That's going to go something like that, probably down there. Trim that excess, trim the excess off so it looks a bit nicer, but use the same one both sides. 1, 2, 3, 4. More cutting. I've been working here and here for ages, right? I've just spent 20 minutes looking for the hole saw to cut this, right? How does that even get there? Idiot. So much time. So that's all the 5mm cut. We've made duplicates for the other side, obviously, so we've got exactly the same set. Put them all together and ground them all smooth at the same time, so they are absolutely identical throughout. Just need to do that little bend on there now, and then we can actually get it mocked up for the very first time in the engine bay. Something like that. Yeah, that's good. I like it. Matching pair. They are tacked in. I did some adjustments, so these actually are, recessed into the metal, both there and there. So when you're looking at it, it's just one continuous bracket. Bit fiddly, but we've got it done. So I'm going to get the other side mocked up now, and then we can basically get all of this welded up on the bench. And I'm going to try and do some dimple dies in this area here, just like we've done this one. So yeah, there you go. There we go. Matching pair. Now to get that off, weld it on the bench and do some dimple dies. Welded on the bench, cleaned up, make some gussets so we can do a nice template like this again. I like it. I think it looks good. I really am pleased with that. This sort of stuff here doesn't really do a lot. It's just for aesthetics. And when you've got the chance, it's always better to do, the extra mile. Considering the main piece of this car is going to be the engine. There's going to be people looking inside it. I want to make it good, you know what I mean? So if people can see that, great. So now I'm going to mock it into the car for the first time and see what it actually looks like. I haven't finished the base plate yet, but I just want to see what it looks like because it's cool. That is cool. That's very cool. I like that a lot. I must say myself, I've done a good job there, and I think it looks really good. I would love to see it like powder coated in silver or something like that, because I think that would look very cool. And what's been achieved is good because I managed to use the engine mounts, managed to make it look good. We've managed to give clearance to the radiator. We've managed to incorporate clearance for the hose, so now that can go underneath the engine mount. And it's as good as straight. Depends what the wind is saying. I'm happy with that. That's very, 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 very cool. Probably one of the jobs that I've been putting off on this car for quite a while because I wasn't sure how I was gonna do it, basically. There you go. Just figure it out as you go, I guess. Covered in swarf, covered in grinding dust, but another thing achieved. Now, what's next for this project? Well, I've got to finish welding up the bulkhead still got to do that. We've got to put a bucket seat and a pedal box in it, and then we've got to finish the tunnel. The seat has got to be moved basically in the back. In its stock form, we can't use the pedal box, so we've got to recess the floor down there for a pedal box. We've got to move the bucket seat back, and then we've got to add a cover plate for the top of the shifter, and obviously fill in all the rest of the holes on the tunnel. And we might incorporate a extended shifter because now we're moving the seat back and moving the shifter further away from your arm. So there's a little extension thing that we can put on top of here to connect it to it. We didn't realize that we was using a pedal box until the tunnel was made, and it's all skew whiffed. So if we had a pedal box and bucket seat to start with, I would have moved the engine back, etc., and then we wouldn't have to put an extension on there. But it's going to be okay. It's going to be all good. And of course, when that happens, I'll film it and show you the process. Another thing that I have never fitted, but I am going to be able to do it to this car, I guess. Figure it out as we go along. So now, that's the end of the day. I'm going to do some clearing out because everything you see here has to be up this weekend, or at least out the way, because we're putting the 2 ramps up. And yeah, busy times ahead. So thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed this. Let me know what you think about the new engine mount. I think it looks really good, and I am pleased with it. I am really pleased with it. I'm sure Jack is as well. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. Subscribe, like it, do all that stuff. Thank you very much. See you later.